Om Asyato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Lord, lead us from unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om peace, peace, peace. So we start with the post-lunch session, and we start with question answer, and then from where I had left as to how to implement this practical Vedanta in our every life, in our daily life, that we will take up before we end. So, any question?
As I had asked you earlier, if there's any advice you might be able to give on answering the problem of when you were trying to make spiritual advancement in life, how you can go forward without acquiring any new negative karma that's going to hold you back.
Right. So when you advance in spiritual life, what you are asking basically is asking the balancing between spiritual life and the work life. Is that so?
Well, I'm just thinking about, okay, well, what if you've gone forward in your life, and yet at the same time you've gathered negative things as well. So how do you get past that? How do you live a life that you don't acquire new karma that might be negative while at the same time making spiritual progress?
Right. This karma is part of the game. We can't avoid it. But at the same time, we can have ongoing cleaning process. Virus will come. We will have an inbuilt antivirus system. Inbuilt antivirus system has to come into our life. Because new karmas will come, some problems will come, some uncleanliness will come. But an automatic cleaning process has to be there. And that can come through this harmony of 4 yogas that I was telling you. Constantly practicing these 4. So, as Swami Vivekananda told that if you want to, each soul is potentially divine, the goal of human life is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Dogmas, rituals, worships, temples, churches, mosques are but secondary details. Now, we talked about all the 4 yogas very briefly. Now, which yoga should we follow? So, each yoga is independently capable of taking you to the ultimate reality, to eternal happiness. So, it depends upon your aptitude, your choice. So, Swami Vivekananda was asked, but what about you? What would you prefer? He said, well, I take all the 4 yogas simultaneously. And so Roma Rolla says, Swami Vivekananda was a great force of synthesis. He rode on all the 4 horses simultaneously. He practiced all the 4 yogas simultaneously. And Swami Vivekananda also said, if we want to have harmonious development of our personality, then we should practice all the 4 yogas simultaneously. There are many advantages with that. Added advantages, minus many disadvantages. For example, now is the age of globalization and a lot of tough competition has come. Many companies are getting wiped out because of the tough competition. What are the companies that are surviving? Those who are practicing productivity. How productivity will come? By maximum utilization of all the resources. So, if we really want to have a good outcome, then we have to have maximum utilization of all resources. Similarly, in our life, we have a few resources, we have few faculties. Why not make the maximum utilization of all the faculties of mind to have maximum of input? How? We have hands to work. Everybody has got hands to work. Why not work for the Lord? That is Karma Yoga. We have got the mind. Let us utilize this mind for meditating on God. That is Raj Yoga. So we have got an intellect. With that intellect, why not reason out what is real truth? That is Gyan Yoga. And then all of us have got to do the heart, which wants to give love, which wants to receive love. How much? Unlimited love. And so love the Lord, thy God, with all thy strength, with all thy mind, with all thy heart, with all thy soul. That is Bhakti Yoga. So all the 4 yogas, if we practice, we get all the benefits of all the 4 yogas, minus their disadvantages. How? Supposing somebody has read the book Raj Yoga, and he becomes very enthusiastic. So he starts pranayama. Then he starts seeing so many types of lights. He starts doing kumbhaka also. And then he starts seeing the lights. Suddenly gone. Back to the mental hospital. Yes, it may happen. Swami Vivekananda gives a warning. If you do not do these practices in a systematic manner under the personal guidance of a guru, there is every possibility of ending up in a mental hospital. So, if you are not yet prepared for 15 minutes meditation, you start meditation for 10 hours, 20 hours, what happens? Mental hospital. So, what you should do? Try to mix up Karma Yoga with Raj Yoga. Do meditation little bit morning, evening, and whole day try to do unselfish service. So if you add Karma Yoga to Raj Yoga, then the disadvantage of Raj Yoga will go away. Okay? Now if you do only Karma Yoga, what happens? When you do Karma Yoga, when you get good, when you get bad, when you don't get the result, you become frustrated, failure, frustrated. And when you get good result, you become egoistic. And then, oh, you see, I have done so much of work. You see, when ego comes, spirituality gone. So what to do? Then you say, I have not done. It is because of the grace of God that I could do this much. So when you mix up Bhakti Yoga with Karma Yoga, the poison of Karma Yoga is gone. Mix up Karma Yoga with Raj Yoga, the poison of Raj Yoga is gone. When you mix up this Bhakti Yoga with Karma Yoga, the poison of Karma Yoga is gone. Now when you do Bhakti Yoga, Swami Vivekananda says you become sentimental nonsense. You become too much emotional and you flow away in emotions. So what you should do, you mix up Gyan Yoga with that. Become little more rational. Don't be foolish. So Swami Sri Ramakrishna used to say, be a bhakta, be a devotee, but don't be a fool. Bhakta hobi to hobi, boka hobi keno. Be a devotee, but don't be a fool. And sometimes they become too much devotees and they get deceived. And it is happening, Now in the world you see so many devotees are taken for a ride by so many Babajis. Why? Because they are going away, just when flowing away in emotions. They are not having that, they are not applying their intellect. They are not mixing Gyan Yoga with Bhakti Yoga. Now if you do, so Bhakti Yoga's poison will go away when Gyan Yoga comes. When you practice only Gyan Yoga, it becomes very dry. To mix Bhakti Yoga with that, it will become a little more palatable. So when you mix all the 4 yogas, all the advantages are added up, and all the disadvantages are gone. So Swami Vivekananda says, mix up all the 4 yogas. And how the monks of Ramakrishna order, or the devotees of Ramakrishna order, how are they combining these 4 yogas? For example, in our ashramas, we have morning, 5 o'clock, we have Mangalarti. So that is Bhakti Yoga. Then we have meditation, that is Raj Yoga. Then we have chanting from Gita, that is Gyan Yoga. Again in the evening we have a Vesper service. The poem written by Swami Vivekananda, Khandana Bhav Bandhana Jagavananda Vandito Mai. So that is Bhakti Yoga. Then we meditate, Raj Yoga. Then we have reading from Gospel, Gyan Yoga. And whole day, Karma Yoga. Whole day we have to work. Each and every monk has been given some charge, some responsibility. We have to work. Maybe dispensary, maybe hospital, maybe school, maybe library, maybe kitchen. library, so many departments are there. Everybody has to work. So this combination brings quicker success. And for this modern age, when the modern man has to invest a lot of time on earning money, on going to the office, on working, you can't avoid work. In the modern age, you can't afford to avoid work. So that is the time when practical Vedanta becomes more important. That is, try to combine all the 4 yogas with emphasis on Karma Yoga. And if you really feel that it is the same reality all everywhere, and that has been verified. When Swami Vivekananda went to Sri Ramakrishna at one day, he told him, you see, this Brahman is everywhere. Same Brahman everywhere. Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. He explained to him. And then afterwards, Narendranath, that was his name, he came out and he met Hazra. You know, Hazra is a special role he has played in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, Hazra Mahasaya. So he was a peculiar man. But he was parent of Swami Vivekananda, parent. Sri Ramakrishna knew very few English words. One word was parent. He used to say the Naren is the parent of Hazra. So when he came out, Hazra said, what this one? Oh, today he has crossed all the limits. This Paramhans Mahasaya has crossed all the limits. Today he is saying everything God. You see, this tumbler is also God. This chair is also God. Both of them started laughing loudly. And then Sri Ramakrishna came at that time with his cloth under his arm. Hey, why are you laughing? And then he understood that it is because he had given the message that the Brahman is present everywhere. So what did he do? He simply touched Naren. And there was a great transformation. Now everywhere he is seeing Brahman. Everywhere he is seeing Brahman. He said, what has happened to me? Then he was going back to his home. Everywhere Brahman. Cars, horse carriages, everywhere Brahman. Then there was a big square. There was a big open ground called Maidan in Calcutta. There is a big pole. He struck his head with the stone to know. Then there was blood. So it is not dream. It is real. But everywhere he is seeing the Brahman. Came to house. Mother is feeding. The chapati also he is seeing Brahman. You see, we have to chant the mantra. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Every day we chant this mantra. So we have to imagine that what is being offered is also Brahman. The person who is taking food is also Brahman. The process of taking food is also Brahman. Who always meditates like this on Brahman becomes Brahman, goes to Brahman. That is the thing. But here really it happened. Swami Vivekananda is taking food, but he is not seeing chapati there. He is seeing Brahman there. In the glass is Brahman. What? He is getting confused. What is happening to me? And then his mother scolded him. Hey, what are you doing? Why are you not eating? But how can he eat? Everything is Brahman. Really Brahman. He is seeing everything Brahman. Then he thought, I will become mad. So he went again to Sri Ramakrishna. And then he said, please pardon me for making joke. And then he touched and everything was all right. So Naren Swami Vivekananda had the first hand experience that really everything is Brahman. Jo kuch hai so tu hi hai. It is everything is the same God. God is permeating the whole world. He had the first hand experience right when he was a college student. Then later on, he took up the monastic life. Then before coming to America, he was wandering all over the country. When we went to Himalayas, when he was just nearing Almora with his brother disciple Swami Akhandananda. There he saw there was a beautiful place, there was a peepal tree, a banyan tree, and there was a confluence of 2 rivers. So he said, this is beautiful, let me meditate here. And so he had sat down for meditation and he went into deep meditation. And when he came back from meditation, he said, Ganges, he used to say Ganga. Ganga means, because his name was Gangadhar, so Swamiji had nickname for everybody. He used to say Ganga. Akhandananda Maharaj, he told Ganga, Ganga, at this place, I had one of the greatest realizations of my life. What is that? When I was under this banyan tree, I had first had experience that microcosm and macrocosm are built on the same plan. Microcosm and macrocosm are built on the same plan. It's everything, whatever is there in the individual is there in the whole universe. It is oneness permeating the whole universe. So, because of this experience that he had, this oneness, he advocated that spirit of the worship of the spirit by the spirit. First he was not ready, but when Swami Vivekananda told, you used to sing that song, that is higher realization, higher condition than the condition of samadhi even, because you are seeing God, not only the same Brahman who is beyond time, space and causation, the same ultimate reality is permeating the whole world also. He is there in the whole world, he is there in the whole universe. So if you can see the divine in all, then transformation will take place. Once you start seeing the divine in everything, it's a long process. It will not come in a day. It will not come in, very difficult. Supposing you try to see the divine in your wife, and she is at her maximum temperature, and she is telling all sorts of things. Whatever bad words she knows, she is throwing out from her mouth. At that time, try to see the divine in the wife, very difficult. Vice versa. The husband is at his best in his anger, and that time you try to see the divine in your husband. Similar with children, with parents, with our relationships. But if we go on practicing, try to see, if the husband tries to see the divine in his wife, in spite of maybe thousands of defects, but there is divine in everybody. Trying to think about that divine rather than thinking of the divine. What Holy Mother Sarada Devi, last message, if you want peace of mind, do not look at the faults of others. Rather try to see your own faults. No one is a stranger, everybody is your own. That is the practical message of practical Vedanta given by Holy Mother Sarada Devi. The last message, 21st July 1920, she passed away at Udbodhan, Mayarbadi. Just 2 days back, she gave that message. That is the last thing she uttered. So that message, trying to see the divine in others. And they have shown by demonstration. Sri Ramakrishna used to look upon Holy Mother Sarada Devi as manifestation of the Divine Mother, and he worshipped her as Divine Mother on Farhari Kali Puja Day on 5th June 1872. Similarly, Sarada Devi used to look upon Sri Ramakrishna as divine, as the Lord himself. And both had tremendous respect for each other and both looked after everybody. So much so that only one day Sri Ramakrishna, out of mistake, used the word tumi instead of tui, instead of the word tumi. That is a little when we use for the juniors. That word he used for his wife, and he came all the way from his room to the room of Sarada Devi, begged pardon and said, please forgive me. I could not sleep last night because I told you this thing. I thought it is Lakshmi who is shutting the door. So I meant Lakshmi, not you. So please forgive me. What is there? You are my husband, even you have got every right to say everything, and this was by mistake. No, please tell that I have forgiven you, then only I will get peace of mind. Remember, just see what type of husband. What type of husband? He is only one word he has used out of mistake, and that also tumi is used for similars, and tui is used for the juniors. And he by mistake used the word tui, because meaning he thought that he was meditating, and Sarada Devi had put the plate, and he thought that Lakshmi, his niece, has come. So he said tui. Even with that, he has become disturbed. And so the Holy Mother Sarada Devi said, These people are beating their wives. My husband did not beat me even with a flower and did not use even one single harsh word throughout his life. Similarly, Sharda Devi, she used to take care of Sri Ramakrishna and she obeyed not literally, she obeyed by heart. How? They were to go, Sri Ramakrishna was going to Panihati for a feast festival, and so many devotees were going. So some lady devotee told mother, let us also go, we will have a nice time. Then Holy Mother said, no, I can't go without the permission of Sri Ramakrishna. Then said, okay, then we will get the permission. Then they asked Sri Ramakrishna, can Holy Mother go? Can we go also, Holy Mother? Can Holy Mother go for that festival along with you? Then Sri Ramakrishna, yes, if she wants, she can go. If she wants, she can come. What did he say? What did he say? If she wants, she can come. And when this was reported, Mother, we got the permission. What did he say? He said, if she wants, she can come. She said, I will not come. Why? No, I will not come. Later on, Sri Ramakrishna, when he saw that Holy Mother Sharda Devi is not come, what did he say? It's good that she did not come. Otherwise, people would be telling, oh, Hans and Hansi both have come together. Now, they said, Mother, how did you know that Sri Ramakrishna did not want that you should go? How could you read his mind? He said, why? You did not listen. You did not see the words that he used. He said, if she wants, she can go. That means he does not want that I should go. Otherwise, he would not have used the word if she wants. He would have told, she can go, then I would have gone. But what did he say? If she wants, she can go. That means he does not want. He could understand the bracket. And that was good, that Sri Ramakrishna. So, Sharda Devi not only followed in his footsteps, literally, but even by heart, he was obeying all his wishes and all his commands and all his instructions. Such a wonderful marital life. Nowadays in America, so many breakups, so many divorces going on. They must read the life of Ramakrishna Sharda Devi. They must read Vedanta and try to practice that Vedanta. Vedanta means putting practice, means trying to see the divine in others. If the divine in all others are there, if we try to manifest the divinity within, the first sign is that you are trying to see the divine in others. And the best way to manifest the divinity within is to try to see the divinity in others. And you cannot see the divinity in others till you try to see the divinity in others. They both will go together. So, but if this is put into practice, all our problems of relationships will be over. Of course, the advocates will have less income, but we will try to find out some solution for them through practical Vedanta. But this is the thing, practical Vedanta. It has to be put into practice. So, if the children, this generation gap has come, but if the children try to look upon their parents as the divine, with all their defects, and the parents try to look upon the children as divine, with all their defects, accept them as they are, and try to make the best of it, that will solve a lot of our problems of relationships. So, this harmony of 4 yogas, how it will come? If we practice all these 4 yogas, as I told you, reserve some time. You have to reserve some time. You say we don't have time. That will not matter. That will not. You have to find out time. You see, time management is nothing but finding out the priorities of life. Only one sentence, priorities of your life. That is time management. What is your priority? What is the ultimate aim of your life? What do you want to achieve in life? If you think that SQ development is a must for every human being, first of all, if you are convinced that you are a human being, that is the first step. Are you convinced that you are a human being? If that is you are convinced, then second thing, are you convinced that human beings are different from animals? There is a different role, a special role of a human being. And if that SQ development is a special prerogative of a human being, to to realize that Brahman, to realize that, to manifest the divinity, you have to find out some time. Because that is your topmost priority. And that is what will go beyond the grave. And that will also help you in making your work better. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Even your work will become perfect. If your mind is well managed, if your mind is under control, you will have more concentration of mind. Just now you listened to why Swami Vivekananda could do that. All of you were not there. This is the incident that took place. When Swami Vivekananda was in this Ridgely Manor, there was the son of Betty Friedan, that is Betty's son was Hollister. So they were 15 years old. So Swami Vivekananda, used to make a friendship with the youngsters better. So he became the friend. So Hollister took Swami Vivekananda for a walk. So there is a mountain there. What is the name of that mountain?
Mohawk Mountain.
Mohawk Mountain. So there is the first golf course of United States. That's what they say, isn't it? First golf course. Gita Prana was telling the first golf course of America. Whatever it is, whether it is first or not, but there is a golf course. So, but very old. I went there. To see, there is a golf course and that is very old. That also I saw that club, it is written there. I forgot the year of this one. Anyway, Swami Vivekananda had never seen the golf course. So he said, what it is all about? Well, this is golf course. Huh? What is this golf course? You don't know the game of golf? Okay, you take the stick and you hit the ball, and after 4, 5, 10 hits, then the ball goes into the hole. That is what you have to do. And if I can hit in one ball, if I can put the ball into the hole at one stroke, what are you telling? You don't know the game. For after so many years, we are not able to do that. And that also takes minimum 8 to 10 strokes. And one stroke you will give. Impossible. He said, how much you will give? Bet. Then Hollister said, I will give you $1. Then his father came, Frank. Frank said, what is it all about? You see, father, Papa, he is telling he will put at one stroke, he doesn't know the game, he put one stroke, he will put the ball in the hole. You Swami, you don't know all this, why are you talking like that? I will give you $10, I bet. Okay. Then Swamiji just took the stick and hit straight into the hole. And this both are father and son, they were amazed. Then Frank said, Swami,
maybe his luck one day.
Eh?
It may be his luck on that day.
Swami, then Frank asked Swami Vivekananda, Swami, did you use any miraculous power for this? Then Swamiji said, no miraculous power. It is simple mathematics. How? I know the power of my muscles and I calculated the distance. How much muscle power I have to use in order that the ball goes there. And second thing, I told my mind, if you can put the ball there, you will be richer by $11. And that is it. That is it. So the mind was perfectly under his control. So this is practical Vedanta. If you can manage the mind, then you will have concentration of mind. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Each and every work will become perfect. So that is practical Vedanta. That is the advantage. So if we practice all the 4 yogas and try to see the divine in others, that will solve all our problems. That will give us happiness and peace in everyday life. And that will also lead us to the eternal happiness and peace. This is, I am talking about the individual level. And all the problems of the world will be solved. All the problems of the world will be solved if we start practicing this practical Vedanta. How? You see, 10% of the people in the world are having 90% of the wealth. These 10% people are so rich that they are not getting sleep at night with any number of tranquilizers. They are not having peace of mind. And there are 10% of the people, 20% of the people who do not get food, so they are also not getting sleep because they don't have food. These people are suffering from affluenza, these are suffering from hunger. These people are suffering because of too much of wealth, these people are suffering because of too less wealth. Make both of them together. Give the wealth from here to them, peace of mind will go to them and the wealth will go to them. How? By practical Vedanta. That is the message given by Swami Vivekananda. When Swami Vivekananda was here for the World Parliament of Religions, then 1894 he was in Chicago. At that time the richest person of the world was John D. Rockefeller, the emperor of petroleum industry. And he was at the time going through a very bad patch. All his hair had gone bald. He became emaciated, become very much depressed. And somebody suggested, why don't you come to my friend's house? There is an Indian yogi. By consulting him, you may get peace of mind. Rockefeller said, what? I have to go to a beggar to get advice? I will not go. You know, we are all beggars. We live on charity. So he said, I will not go to a beggar. And he did not go. One fine morning, he suddenly went to the place where Swamiji was staying. He called the bell. The butler opened the door. He went inside. Swamiji was not in his drawing room. So he went to his study room. Swamiji was fully absorbed. So he did not notice Rockefeller coming. Rockefeller stood for some time and then he knocked at the table. Then Swamiji looked up. Then Rockefeller said, I am Rockefeller. Then Swamiji asked, what do you want? Now he was not prepared for this type of treatment. Rockefeller means the President of America would get up and here's the beggar sitting down asking, what do you want? Then he became very much annoyed. I said, I don't want anything. Then why have you come? Now he had no answer because he had come without invitation. Then Swamiji said, my dear Rockefeller, I know why you have come. You have come here because you do not have peace of mind. And then he started narrating many incidents from the life of Rockefeller, which no one else knew except Rockefeller. Who has told all these things? Who has told all these things to you? How do you come to know? Then Swamiji smiled and said, do you think it is necessary somebody should tell me? I can see through your mind as I can see through a glass self. And then he was very much disturbed. My God, he has come to know all my secrets. Then Swamiji said, my dear Rockefeller, remember, you are not the owner of your wealth. You are only a custodian of your wealth. Utilize this money for removing the sufferings of millions of people. Immediately you will get peace of mind. There is no way by which you can get peace of mind. And Rockefeller was not prepared to listen to anybody's advice, least of all from a beggar. He became very much annoyed and left abruptly as abruptly he had come. But after a few days again he came. Similar fashion. He called the bell, butler opened the door, he went inside. Swamiji was not in the drawing room, so he went to the study room. Swamiji was fully absorbed. Again he knocked at the table. Then Swamiji looked up, then Rockefeller put a piece of paper on his table in which he had made an announcement of a very huge donation for a public cause. When he read it, Rockefeller said, now you must thank me. I have followed your advice. Swamiji said, well, it is for you to thank me. Because by following my advice, you will get peace of mind which cannot be purchased by millions of dollars in the market. That was a very huge donation. And afterwards, Rockefeller said in his autobiography, he went on to live for 98 years, very healthy life. And he said, there is more to life than only earning riches. Service of mankind is a must. He doesn't use the word Swami Vivekananda, but all his ideas reflected in his autobiography. And then in 1913, he made Rockefeller Foundation. And from Rockefeller Foundation, so many new research have been done. David Borlaug made a research on wheat, on drought-resistant wheat, which saved the millions of people from starvation. All this happened because he started Rockefeller Foundation. That was started because Swami Vivekananda said, utilize your money for removing the sufferings of millions of people and go for charity. Then you will get peace of mind. He really got peace of mind. He really got health and everything. So that is why this practical Vedanta, if we can apply this practical Vedanta, trusteeship management principle, what they say in India now, corporate social responsibility, CSR, corporate social responsibility, 2% of the wealth, 2% of the profit, every company has to give for charity. New law in Government of India. I don't know whether in CSR law here, do you know any CSR law in America? Huh? I don't think so, but in India there is law. India there is CSR, corporate social responsibility. Every corporation, every company has to give minimum 2% of its profit
Here,
for
the
charity.
poor people have to give to the rich.
Yeah.
Eh?
In this country, the poor people have to give to the
That they are giving from so many time immemorial.
But in this country, right now, the wealth gap is proportionally expanding since 1990.
Yes.
Somebody wrote an article, 1990 2018, the bottom is going to be like this, the upper exponentially going up. The gap is so much so, causing a lot of social problems.
That is exactly why I am telling why practical Vedanta is needed. Bridge the gap. How? By telling the rich people to give the money to the poor people. And thereby what? It is a double advantage. These people will get money, these people will get food, these people will get clothes, these people will get employment. And what they will get? They will get peace of mind.
Well, Bill Gates Foundation.
Yeah? Huh?
Bill Gates Foundation is doing.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett is quite a-
Yeah, Bill Gates, you know, when I heard somebody told that Bill Gates was asked this question, first time when he came to India, why you come to India? He said that because I have got great regard for Indian culture. How did you develop? By reading the books of Swami Vivekananda. Have you read any books of Swami Vivekananda? He said, I do not go to bed without reading a few pages from the book of Swami Vivekananda. Karma Yoga is my favorite book. This is what I read in the newspapers, but I couldn't believe because my idea of Rockefeller, Bill Gates was, he believes in cutthroat competition. I am talking about 20 years back.
Yeah.
Then later on in year 2000, he made an announcement of starting Melinda Bill Gates Foundation with $30 billion. Then I would understand, yes, he must have read the books of Swami Vivekananda or he must have been following Karma Yoga.
Unless there was a good influence of his wife.
Huh?
Unless there was a good influence from his wife.
Yeah. My wife and also from mother. Mother told
Yeah.
Bill, you should give back to society what you have got. You have to give back to the society. Not only that, but I had heard that he got inspiration from Swami Vivekananda. But in his website there is no mention of Swami Vivekananda. I went to that website, but there it is told that Bill Gates got his inspiration from David Rockefeller, the youngest son of John D. Rockefeller, who got inspiration from Swami Vivekananda. The circuit is
So
complete.
there we are.
Whatever it is. They may or may not take the name of Swami Vivekananda, that is immaterial, we don't want name. But what is required is trusteeship management. That all the rich people should take it as their responsibility. And this is what practical Vedanta. These rich people should look upon poor people also. They have also got divinity. They have got the right to live. So if they try to see that divinity and try to equalize that, they will get peace of mind. In the process, they will get food and clothes and all that, employment and all that. So, for the general benefit of humanity, even for world peace, you want harmony of religion. For harmony of religion, you want that everybody should look upon others as divine. That divinity is within Muslims, within Christians. क्या मलाया, क्या इंसान, क्या हिंदू, क्या मुसलमान, जैसा चाहा तूने बनाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही. That is very much required. So, coming back to your question, that when we practice these 4 yogas, every day, these 4 yogas, and try to see the divinity in others, then the spiritual development will take place. There will be other factors coming, there will be other obstructions coming, but by continuously going, now in everyday life, how to practice these 4 yogas. This is, as I told you, morning and evening, take out some time for meditation. As I was telling you, the Reader's Digest brought out a small special note, that is special account. There is a bank which gives you $86,400 every day. Deposits in your account. Condition is that if you do not utilize it, it cannot be carried forward. So you will utilize every dollar, isn't it? Similarly, there is a time deposit. Everybody's account, 86,400 seconds are deposited, 24 hours. Nobody gets less, nobody gets more. Now, whatever seconds you utilize, that are yours. What are not utilized, gone. Next day again, you will get 86,400 seconds. Now, utilize some seconds in the morning for meditation and in the evening or night. Similarly, utilize some of your time for prayer or Bhakti Yoga, and in the evening. And some time for reading some positive thoughts, scriptural reading or some positive thoughts that gives you positivity. Such type of thoughts should be read. Maybe you read on WhatsApp, I don't mind, on the books, because book reading has gone now. Maybe you read on Kindle, anywhere. And night also again positive thinking, positive reading and thinking, then meditation and prayer. If you can have this, then gradually you will get more and more happiness and peace in everyday life. And whatever problems come, as you are telling, which are halting your spiritual development, will be taken care of. It is not 1 or 2 days affair. It's a long term process. If you practice, it will come. And try to look upon the divine in others at the same time. If we can try to do that while we are working, also converting work into worship, each and every activity, at the time of taking food, we are thinking the food is Brahman, this and that. That holds good for every activity. Every activity before starting every activity, not only taking food, that everything is divine and we are trying to serve the divine. If that idea comes, then our SQ development will remain constant. Not only that, we will be able to develop that SQ. In spite of our various obstructions, in spite of the busy schedule that we are having, we will be able to do that. Does that answer your question? Is there any other question?
So, Swamiji,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that in trying to see the divine in everybody, it seems to me that it's a lot easier to see the divine in the animal kingdom than it is in the human.
Now, I will tell you a beautiful story. I'll tell you a beautiful story. A beautiful story I will tell you. Where is the boy gone? Okay.
For you.
Beautiful story. This story is told by Sri Ramakrishna. You know, there was a teacher, religious teacher, who taught that the whole thing is Brahman. Everything there, everywhere there is Brahman. What we are talking about. Everywhere it is divine, divine. Divine is present in everything, in every human being, in everything, every animal, every man. Everywhere it is divine. Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. That is the message given. So, in the olden times, the teacher, guru used to do like, and after the teaching, the children, the students, the disciples would go to the forest to bring wood, because that time no gas, you know. So the wood has to be brought and then the cooking will be done. So they have gone to wood, cutting the wood. While one of the disciples cutting wood, suddenly an elephant came there. And the person who is called elephant tamer, Mahavat. Mahavat, I do not know what is the English name of Mahavat. Is it the person who controls the elephant, who sits on the elephant? It is called Mahavat?
Mahout.
Huh?
Mahout.
Mahut.
No, that's not English.
Okay, this is not English.
No, it's not.
So we don't
have a word.
Mahavat. It is Mahavat. It is called Mahavat. But it is a person who was controlling the elephant. He was sitting there and he was yelling, he was shouting, "Hey, get out of the way, get out of the way, the elephant has become mad, get out, get out." Then this disciple got terrified and was running away. Suddenly he remembered, morning Gurudev had told Brahman is everywhere. So what he did, he stood on the way. Elephant Narayan, Hathi Narayan, oh Elephant Narayan, I am paying my obeisance to you, salutations to you. And the elephant came, took him and just flung him into the forest. And then he became unconscious. Then these people were searching for evening, the disciple has not come. They all came through the candlelight. Somehow they spotted him. Then he took him into the ashrama. Then they asked, what happened? Then he said, when the elephant came and these two, but why didn't you go away? I was going away. I remembered your teaching that elephant also has got Narayana within him. There is Brahman in him also. There is divinity in him also. So I started saluting the divinity within him. But he did not listen to me and he just flung me. Then that Guru said, you see, whenever I give you some teaching, you should follow it properly. Don't make it halfway. What did I tell you? You said everybody is divine, everything is divine, there is divinity in everybody, in everything. So I looked upon elephant Narayana, that is Hathi Narayana, elephant Narayana. I started worshipping Hathi Narayana. What was wrong? He said, yes, I told God is present present everywhere, in everybody, in every animal, in animal. I told you like that? Yes. So why did you not listen to Mahavat Narayana when Hathi Narayana was coming? When he was telling, go get away from the path, he is also having Narayana. That means that person who was telling you to be away from the path was also a divinity, was also a center of divinity. So you should listen to Mahavat Narayana. So when we are practicing practical Vedanta, we have to be practical also, not to be foolish. Be a devotee, but don't be a foolish devotee. Bhakta hobi to bhi boka hobi keno. Swami Yogananda, he was a disciple of Swami Sri Ramakrishna, brother disciple of Swami Vivekananda. He was a very soft man. So he went to the market for purchasing some utensil. And when he found, and we came back and they found that utensil was not proper. It was having a hole. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, why did you bring this? Didn't you see properly there? You see, no, but I was talking to the businessman, he was so nice man, so I did not see all these things because he was telling the name of God and all that. Well, you see, he has gone there for making business and not for taking the name of the Lord. You see, you be a devotee, but don't be a foolish devotee. Bengali, he said, Bhakta hobi to hobi, boka hobi keno. You be a devotee, but why do you become a foolish devotee? You should be practical. You should, whenever you go for purchasing something, you must see the quality of the item, number one. Number two, you try to see the price. And then try to go to other places and find out which is the lowest price. And then also see whether there is a gift scheme or not. Don't forget to take the gift. Sri Ramakrishna is teaching how to do shopping. Shopping management. He is not learned. He is not learned in our sense, but he had that practical wisdom. So he is teaching Swami Yogananda, you should be practical.
Yesterday was the Black Friday.
Yeah, a lot of shopping, I know. I also purchased something. I purchased a lot of chocolates because when I go back to India, they'll say, hey, what you have brought? Everything is so cheap in India. Chocolates are much cheaper, but still American chocolate has got its own American, flavor. So I took chocolate under concession. There's a lot of concession. Black Friday. Anyway, so I followed Ramakrishna and took the concession while purchasing chocolates. So that is practical Vedanta. You have to be practical in your dealings. At the same time, trying to see the divine in others does not mean that you become impractical. So we have to see the divine in others. At the same time, we have to see. Supposing there is a thief who is taking away pocket, then what do you do? Oh Narayana, you are taking away my pocket. Take my second purse also. We are not reached that stage. Of course, Pawhari Baba used to do that. Do you know the story of Pawhari Baba? Pawhari Baba, Swami Vivekananda has written a book on Pawhari Baba. This is a real person. This is not fake. This is not story. He used to live in Bihar. Gazipur is the name of the place where Pawhari Baba used to live. Pawhari Baba who sustains only on what? Only an air. Pavan har. He used to go into the cave for months together. He will not take any food, and people do not know when he will come out of his deep meditation. Then only they will keep food outside, but he would be always inside the cave in Gazipur. Swami Vivekananda learned about him, and then he wanted to become his disciple and wanted to learn yoga from him, yoga and all that. But Sri Ramakrishna appeared thrice, and he was not. So he got the signal that Sri Ramakrishna is not happy with that. So he did not then take the Diksha from Pawhari Baba, but he was very much impressed. There is a story about this Pawhari Baba, that Pawhari Baba was, everything he is saying Narayana, Narayana. Anybody come in, Narayana, please come, Narayana, please come. Then one day the serpent, you see, there was a particular insect, particular small animal which was very, dear to this one. They were friendly. Now one serpent, because he was trying to protect that animal, the serpent came and stung him. So next day the people came and started just taking care of him. Well, what happened? Why you are bleeding? He said, a messenger came from my beloved and stung me. A messenger came from a beloved and kissed me. Kissed me. Messenger came from a beloved and kissed me. He says it is kiss, it is a sting, and blood is coming out. But everywhere he is seeing the Lord. He is seeing the Lord in the serpent also. So, and then one day when he was sleeping, he used to have a lot of utensils, because every year he used to give feast to all the villagers. Anybody, thousands of people, villagers, he would feed. Didn't know how he brought all these items for feeding, but it came. So they had he had nothing in his ashrama excepting a few utensils, and he used to remain in cave. And he heard his some noise. He came out. He saw some thief had come and taken away a lot of utensils, and he was running away. As soon as he saw that Pavari Baba is coming, he running away. So Pavari Baba started running after him. Now Pavari Baba was a yogi. So after some time he caught him, and then the thief was very much afraid. What will happen? He has caught me red-handed. And Pavari Baba caught hold of him. Oh Narayana, you came to my house and took away my utensils with so much grace, but there are some few more, please take them away. And the thief was wonderstruck. What is this man? Instead of beating me, he is doing a prostration before me and saying me Narayana. He is telling me Narayana, I am a Narayana, I am Lord. He is saying God in all. So then he could not take that one. He started weeping. When Swami Vivekananda had gone to Himalayas, one day he was talking to a sadhu, and then he said that when I was there in Gazipur, I met Pavari Baba. Oh, you met Pavari Baba? Well, you know him? Well, did you listen to a story that Pavari Baba met a thief had come and then he wanted to give the other utensils to him? Well, yes, I heard. I am that thief. Huh? Swamiji was wonderstruck. Same thief. Well, that day, my whole life got transformed. A person who can see God in a thief, what a person he is. So, I changed my life. Now I am a sadhu and I am devoted to God. So, we are not Pavari Baba. We cannot go to that extent. If some thief comes and takes away this item and I say, oh, please take other items also. That much we have not. But we try to see the divine in him. And maybe we may report to the police. Doesn't matter. Whatever is practical is to be done is done. But then inside our heart, outside we will do whatever is practical. Inside our heart, there should not be envy. There should not be jealousy. There should not be any revenge item. That we should try to do. It's a long drawn process, not very simple. But we can try. We can try to practice this practical Vedanta by harmonizing 4 yogas. Every day we will get happiness and peace. Ultimately, culminating in eternal happiness and peace. Same 4 yogas. Nothing else you have to do. You do whatever you are doing. I am not telling anything extra to be done. You are going to office, you go, name same number of hours. But give little time for meditation and prayer and inspirational reading morning and same thing in the evening. That's all that I am saying. So beautiful books. Go through the complete works of Swami Vivekananda and the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and the 3 biographies. Ramakrishna is disciple by Sri Ramakrishna, beautiful book, Life of Sri Ramakrishna. The Life of Swami Vivekananda by Swami Nikhilananda and Life of Sharda Devi by Swami Nikhilananda. And there is a Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna translated by Swami Nikhilananda, not Swami Nikhileshwarananda. Swami Nikhilananda, easy to remember for you. So Swami Nikhilananda translated from Kathamrita to Gospel. Beautiful Gospel. is actually the diary of Master Mahasaya M. He used to keep the diary. When Swami Vivekananda saw, he said, "Oh, there's so much of good things here. You must publish it." No, it's my private diary. But ultimately, he published it at the request of Swami Vivekananda. That diary is now called The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Beautiful book. And all the solutions, whatever I am talking about, everything is given there. This practical Vedanta, this story of this Mahavat Narayana, Elephant Narayana, all these, so many stories like this lioness, sheep, everything, all the stories are given there. So this Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and the 3 biographies, if you go through, and if possible, at least these 4 yogas, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. If not, the complete works of Swami Vivekananda contains all the 4, plus letters of Swami Vivekananda and in conversations with Swami Vivekananda. If you can't go for that, at least these 4 yogas and these 3 biographies and the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. If you can go through that, you will find yourself a lot of change in yourself. A paradigm shift is coming in your thinking. And you come to know the priorities of your life. More of happiness and peace in everyday life. And so many problems will come, but you will not feel the heat of it. Problems will come. You will feel little disturbed. It will not make you unnerved. You will be able to face all the challenges with a smiling face. That type of strength will come by this practical Vedanta. That is the advantage of practical Vedanta. It gives you fearlessness, it gives you mental strength, it gives you willpower, because you are the creator of your own destiny. Nobody else is responsible for you. He was talking about luck. There is nothing called luck. He was talking about luck. There is nothing called luck. Swami Vivekananda said, don't believe in this luck and bad luck and good luck and all that. So is there nothing called destiny? Yes, it's there. But destiny is there. But who created it? Not God did not create it. It is your karmas has created your own destiny. Now, if my present destiny has been created by my past karmas, that very thing proves my future destiny will be made up by my present karmas. So, do not try to know your destiny, try to change your destiny by doing good karmas. You are the creator of your own destiny. That is the message of Vedanta, practical Vedanta. So, practical Vedanta gives you that power, tremendous power. Take the responsibility on your own shoulders. Don't try to look upon the faults of this X, Y, Z. This person might be like this person might be like this. No. Take the whole responsibility. I am responsible for what I have occurred to me. I take the whole responsibility and I will make out my way from these circumstances. I will face the challenge. That power comes when you know there is infinite power within yourself in the Atma. There is divinity within you and there is divinity within others. So this focusing is on divinity. Within yourself, outside. Our relationship will improve. Our problems will be minimized. If not minimized, we will be able to face the problems squarely. We will be getting happiness and peace in everyday life, resulting in eternal happiness and peace. This is what I have told is, I have shown you a trailer. Now you will get the real thing in my book, Happiness and Peace in Everyday Life. You will get more details here, and also Nurturing Relationship, Art of Sharing and Caring. That all of you will get these 2 books. Then if you want, you can also get a photograph. This is a special photograph I have brought from India. 3 in 1. Sri Ramakrishna, Sarada Devi, Swami Vivekananda, all 3 in 1. And this is a special thing. Those who are addicted to mobile and those who consider mobile to be eternal companion and 24-hour companion, for them this is there, so that Swami Vivekananda will be 24 hours with you. This is like this. Just paste this one. This is a sticker, so that, because now I know everywhere, nobody stays near you so much as your mobile with you. And so Swami Vivekananda will be on the mobile, so Swami Vivekananda will be always with you. That is the trick we have done. He will be always with you to get the inspiration. And others will get, when you are telephoning, others will get inspiration. Yeah. Because it is other way, right? So others are also getting the inspiration. And My YouTube link is here in this card that I'll give you the card. YouTube link, you can download all my articles, including, all my lectures, including one lecture, Meditation for Excellence in Life. And there I have taken a practical session on meditation. I gave them hints on how to meditate for those who do not have gurus. And then we started the song, Tujhse Humne Dil Ko Lagaya. That song is also there in that particular CD. That song was going on and all people were meditating. The meditation starts with the song, ends with the song. So, this is your homework. We have to do here because now you have taken a lot of food. It's not good to meditation with a full stomach. So, you do it at home. Download from this YouTube the lecture, Meditation for Excellence in Life, and then you go through that portion at the end, every day, all the 3 days program, at the end, every day at the end, I have done practical session on meditation. The song starts there, Tujhse Humne Dil Ko Lagaya, ends there. Beautiful song, very beautifully sung. As I told you, gives the message of harmony in this one. And also, there's email ID, so you give me the email, then I will let you know this Prabuddha Bharata. 2 years back, this article appeared, that is the Hindu song of praise. Swami Vivekananda himself has given the name of this song. He has freely translated this song from this Urdu or Hindi to English. He has given it the name the Hindu song of praise, though it is not Hindu, it is Sufism. But he has given the name Hindu song of praise of God. And then he himself in his own writing, and about that the article appeared in Prabuddha Bharata of this Vandana Janani. So that link, that 2 years back, I will give you the link once you give me either there's a WhatsApp number, either you give WhatsApp message or you give me email, then I will tell you the exact Prabuddha Bharata, which number it appeared. And Prabuddha Bharata has got a website, you go there in the archives, you will get it. So little bit of homework I am giving, little bit of homework. But we are, that way you are getting the benefit of living early. Yes. So homework will make you free very quickly. I have given the last one. If there is any question, you let me know. All these things you will get when you are going. Any other question, let me know. You had some question, no? You had? No.
No, I had it to continue with that question. I was thinking how to purify or strengthen the mind, but I think you covered practicing this thing. But is there a simplified way that if we took shower and our body is clean, something like that,
okay.
Japa, how much?
Yeah. Very nice. Now, in order to purify mind, because purification is very necessary. If you want to control my mind, you must purify your mind. Now, the purity of mind will depend upon your food intake. Ahar shuddhau, sattva suddhihi, sattva shuddhau, dhruva smritihi. Your ahar will decide the purity of mind. The purer the food, purer is the mind. Now, what do you mean by food? That is intake. One intake we are taking through mouth. That should be pure. But that is not enough. The intake we take through ears, through our eyes. You know, Mahatma Gandhi, he used to give 3 monkeys. 3 monkeys. 3 monkeys of Gandhiji you must remember. Don't look at evil. Don't listen to evil. Don't speak evil. Also remember the 3 monkeys of Switzerland. One of our senior Swamijis had gone to Switzerland to preach Vedanta there. And there by the side of a lake he saw an image of 3 monkeys, but very strange monkeys. Earlier he saw an image of 3 monkeys of Gandhiji. 1 monkey, 2 eye closed, 2nd monkey, 2 ear closed, 3rd monkey, mouth closed. Here he saw very strange. 1 monkey was having 1 eye open and 1 eye closed. 2nd monkey, 1 ear closed, 1 open. And third monkey, half mouth was half open. Now he had never seen such monkeys. So he was thinking, what is this monkey talking about? Those monkeys we know, don't look at evil, don't listen to bad things, don't speak evil. What are these three monkeys of Switzerland telling? He thought about it for a long time. Then he suddenly remembered a sloka and he got the meaning. What was the sloka? Badram karnebhi shunayama deva badram pashe makshabhi jatraha sirairangai stustuvagam sastanubihi vyashema deva hitayadayuhu swastina indro vriddashava swastina pusha vishwaveda swastina staksho arishtanemi swastino brihaspati dadatu badram karnebhi shunayama deva. Listen to good things. 1 ear closed, don't listen to bad things, but 1 ear is open, but listen to auspicious things. Badram pashe makshabhi jatra. 1 eye is closed, don't look at bad things, but 1 eye is open, but look at good things. Don't read bad books, but read good books. Read the books which gives you positive thinking. Read the good books that gives you divinity. Read that makes you mind pure. Don't speak evil of others, but have a word of appreciation for others. Half mouth is open. So likewise, if we take good intake and don't take bad intake, gradually our mind will become pure. Gradually our mind will become pure. And the purer the mind, the greater is the concentration of mind, easier it is to control the mind. So that is how we have to practice. Ultimately it is practice. One more thing Swami Virjaniji says in his book, The Way to the Goal, beautiful book, small book, Paramath Prasanga. He gives a practical hint. If you want to really control your mind, you have to control your life. And how to control your life is to regulate your life. So there has to be some sort of a regular timetable. So supposing you are going at the right time, there is an appointed time by which you start for the office, and there is an appointed time by which you return. That is fixed not by you but your boss or by your office. You don't have any hand in that. Or if you are a student, the college decided what time you will go to college, what time you will go back. But what happens to the rest of the time is we do not know. We have 86,400. We do not have any routine. So have a routine. At least these three timings, timing of getting up, timing of sleeping, and timing of prayer or meditation, this should be fixed. If you cannot fix up other things, at least this should be fixed. That itself will take go a long way in helping you to control your mind and purifying your mind. So this is a very this management of mind is a very big subject. I have given you hints. Management time again is a very big subject. I have given you only a few hints. But all this in the background of Vedanta philosophy, nothing but we have to remember that divinity within and try to see the divine in others. And try to practice these 4 yogas in daily life will lead us to the eternal happiness and peace, and everyday life will get happiness and peace. Is that okay?
Okay.
So I am so happy to meet all of you, and I am really, this is Thanksgiving week. So first I thank Geeta Pranam Mataji and Shuddhatma Pranam Mataji for this opportunity, giving me this opportunity of meeting you all. And really, because they took the initiative. I told that regionally, whenever I come to Ridgely's, I said, I may come there for a day. Then said, then if you are coming, then would you like to speak? I said, okay. Then when I told the subject, then Geeta Pranam said, why not then make it a full day retreat? So it has become a full day retreat. And then Thanksgiving week, we were thinking that at least 1 or 2 may not come. Then I said, okay, doesn't matter. Swami Ramakrishnanand Maharaj is our ideal. You know, one day Sashi Maharaj, Ramakrishnanandji had gone to take a lecture in Madras. Nobody came. But 1 full hour he spoke. Then he said, to whom you are talking? Well, I was talking to Sri Ramakrishna. My duty I have to carry out. So I thought I will be talking myself instead of so many people have come in spite of the Thanksgiving week, that is good. So I am thankful to all of you for making this retreat successful, and also in spite of the Thanksgiving week and in spite of so many hurdles and the weather is also not good, still you have come. So thank you all very much, and we pray, we offer our humble salutations at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna Dev, Sharada Devi, Swami Vivekananda, the Holy Trio. And I pray to them that may they bless us so that we may be able to carry out this message of practical Vedanta in our everyday life, get happiness and peace, and also get eternal happiness and peace. And may we all become instruments of spreading this message of practical Vedanta, and may we all be able to spread that happiness and peace all around, wherever, to whatever extent we can do in a small way, humble way, whatever we can do. Let us do that. And I offer my humble salutation at the feet of the Divine within all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maharaj, I want to thank you too on behalf of Peter Prana and myself and everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's your fourth visit, right? Fourth visit. Fifth. Okay. And so
Fourth visit to USA,
Yeah.
but fifth visit to Ridley, because in the first visit I started my journey with Ridley, ended my journey with Ridley. First 2010, then 2013, 2015, 2018.
So please come again. And
I'll come again without your invitation. It's such a beautiful place. It is our place. Swami Vivekananda stayed here. Don't just imagine. He spent such a long time. What a wonderful thing. We have yet to know who was Swami Vivekananda. We have yet to know. We cannot understand now. We cannot understand now. A.L. Basham, one of the greatest historians of our time, when he was asked about why the centenary of Swami Vivekananda is going on, what is his view? He said it is very difficult to evaluate the importance of Swami Vivekananda's scale of history only after 100 years. The future generation will be able to understand his genius. We are too near the history to understand his genius. We cannot understand now. He was, as Sister Christine says, from the above he came. We do not know. What a wonderful person. Not of this earth. Gradually we will understand. So it is a thrilling experience to be here. So we are all very blessed that in this very atmosphere we have spent the whole day.
thank you.